Right, okay, so is this alright sound-wise? So Barney asked me to do this, and I was trying to think about, because I came to the last one when someone was talking about the work, Michael, and I was just thinking what is it that people, he kind of looked at past, present, future, and I thought I'd do that as well. But it's thinking about what you would say about your own work and why somebody would want, and like Barney says, my work's been up in different places, so it's not necessarily talking about my work because people might have seen that as such. I've just started with a slide there, and that's what's on the handout things, and that was Michelle D. So sometimes it's hard, we were talking about this earlier with a couple of students there, about quite often, if you're really into visuals, you're not so into words, are you? You don't find it as easy to express yourself with words, that's why you go for the visual. And so I went to Michelle, who's the word woman, and she wrote this stuff for me, so I kind of use that on my website now. She wrote some really lovely things about my work. I really like the way that she describes it. So, and when I go through it, I'll sort of, obviously it'll become apparent more, but that is on the handout. I'm not going to read it out or anything.
So you can step more for, if you just press that, you can step out there and just, you can actually walk, feel free to walk away. No. Actually, I'll stay here. You just walk over. And
I'm alright. Am I alright here?
No, I'm just sort of thinking back there.
Is this alright? Is this better?
You sure?
Yeah, because I'm in the light then, you see, aren't I?
Yeah, but, I'm just sort of worried about the back. Can you hear?
Can you hear alright? Yeah.
Honest? No bullshit?
Get on with it.
I'll get out of the way then.
Right.
I'll go back up the room.
So, I'm looking at, that work that was up there, so this sort of getting people to dress up, wearing costumes and props, which is what I really like to do. So I was thinking about where it came from. And I mean, I've always done sort of art. I was always into art at school, and I went to college straight when I left school, and I did like a exhibition museum design course. And then I kind of ended up, I had a t-shirts, I did a market stall, and I used to do hand-painted t-shirts for years and years. And then I ended up having my son and going back to study again, started getting into photography, there was a really good, community dark room on Fountain Road where you could go and use the dark rooms, and I started doing printing and stuff. Then did City and Guilds, then did a diploma at Hull College in photography, and then did fine art degree, and carried on from that. And there was a tutor who I had all of this stuff that I once took to a seminar. There was the work I made at sort of university, and then there was kind of this stuff. It was sort of the beginning of digital cameras really. I ended up getting a digital camera, and I was documenting, I wasn't really making my own work as such, but I was documenting everything that was going on. And a lot of it at the time there was a lot of parties going on, a lot of fancy dress parties, and I really liked this idea of capturing this stuff as it happened, and we just got loads and loads and loads of this sort of documenting stuff. But there was a tutor when I was at university, and it always kind of stuck in my head that she said, I don't know why you don't set this up. Because a lot of these people are now in the some of these people are now in the photographs that I take. So that's sort of like a beginning. And then I had an exhibition in Pave next door, and I just did loads of little frames. And it was a photo log at the time, so it's pre sort of Facebook and all that kind of thing. It was 2004, I think. And I used to do, it was a picture, if you had a free account, you could put a picture up a day. And it was just sort of little moments from life, and I used to do a bit of Photoshop on them or whatever, but it was just this sort of random picture a day thing. So when I had an exhibition in Pave, I just put loads of pictures up of this, and somebody I knew looked at them, got an alright response and everything, but somebody looked at them and said, oh, I've seen all these before. So that really made me think about, if I was going to do something again, I didn't want that response, I wanted to do something that people hadn't seen before. So that's kind of what I started thinking about. I also started teaching, so I started, when I started teaching, photography to start with, and then going into sort of more, now I teach a bit of illustration, a bit of interactive media, I teach on the foundation course, critical theory, and I started to really look at other people's work as well. I'd sort of got out there, maybe you get lazy when I left uni, and I was just sort of, I was working and everything. I was working as a community artist, in community artwork, doing workshop work. But I sort of got lazy with my own practice, if you will, and I didn't really challenge myself, I don't think. I was just sort of enjoying doing whatever. And so then I've started to look at artists, and they began to inspire me, really. So these are some of the ones that Ralph Eugene Meaty I'd really like, because he was a American photographer, and he took photographs of his friends and family wearing masks. So I feel there's a real link between his work. And also, he was kind of like an amateur, really. He was an optometrist. So I like the idea that he used to sort of make people see better. And, and he just used to, once a year, I think he used to print his work, and he used to play jazz, and then he used to print it and show it his wife, and she'd choose which ones she thought were good and stuff. So it's but he's got this really lovely body of this strange work of his family in these sort of decayed environments. I think he used to go off in the car with his kids, set a mask and photograph and stuff. I always think it's really cute. Cindy Sherman, so when I first saw her work, when I was sort of first studying on photography, and I looked at it and I thought, what the hell's this? But the idea that she's made such a brilliant career out of basically creating sets, props and costume, and creating these sort of characters, and a lot of kind of theory put onto her work, but I think I still really love all these crazy characters. I love that she's created these fashion images, stuff like this here and these ones for sort of high class fashion houses, but created these grotesque characters wearing them. I like that kind of contradiction. Starting to look at series of images as well, and images based on narrative, I suppose. I really like this work by Sarah Moon and Krugson's huge, epic kind of staged photographs that have got a budget of a big film set, but they're just that singular moment. Really fabulous. So I started to kind of stage stuff. That one on the top left was kind of the first one, where it was me and Mark went to Beverly Westwood with the mask, basically, and I did this Red Riding Hood thing, and it worked really well. And then there was a day when it was really nice in our garden, so I took all the furniture outside, and I've got these mannequins and props and stuff. So there's little moments, and then my friend Anne-Marie, she's really brilliant at being in the photographs, so we'll talk about ideas and things. And that day I was kind of right, I want to get you levitating. And so she was like, what do you want Carl to wear? I was, caftan would be good. So there's caftan, and then she was like, socks on, socks off, or whatever. But so just started to do these kind of photographs where that's Queen's pool room. So it was kind of quite exciting doing this, and then getting something out of it. And the first time, so this was the kind of new work that came out of, I think, really thinking about what I wanted to do more. And then, so starting to exhibit work, Dazzle was a brilliant place. So that was on Newland Avenue. Alistair and Darren used to run it. Great little cafe bar, wine bar. They used to sell fizzy wine by the glass, which was really brilliant. And it was just a great time to put work up in there. People had a show for a month, and it was really nice because sometimes in a gallery setting you don't get that many people going in, whereas if you somewhere like Dazzle, it's got this constant flow of visitors seeing your work, so it sold quite well, and it got a really good response. So it was really sort of, I don't know, it kind of gave me a lot of confidence in what I was doing. And I would say Paul Weems is a really big influence as well. So he's a sort of a hidden Hull artist, really. He has work in here sometimes, and in Pave and Dazzle and stuff like that. But I love his work, and this is his, his Weems world, really. In his living room, he's got all his pictures, cakes on a wall. And I remember the first time I went round his house, and I was really kind of taken aback by the art and the creativity. And I kind of love his eclectic work, and I remember looking at it and thinking, God, he's really creative, look at all the work that he's done. And it just made me feel sort of a bit inspired, really, to do that myself. So we've had joint shows that have been quite good. So we had Pave, we had some in Dazzle, like I say, and then carried. The thing is, having these little shows means that I can kind of create new work every so often. So I feel like if you've got something sort of booked as such, it encourages you to keep doing new stuff, which I find is really good. Taking advantage of kind of, you know, the sort of natural stuff that's going on. You know, if somebody tells me there's a big sunflower field somewhere, I'll go find it. Going to up to, that was Skipsea, so just the crumbling sort of nature of it going down, and really nice going out, because like we were just taking these pictures and these sort of families walking by, you know, so you just stood there like they're wearing a fog mask or whatever, just like pretend that you're not doing anything, you just ignore them. So an exhibition at Red Gallery, so really good space in the city for art, and so it was me, Paul and Alice, and our work sort of fit really nicely together, I think, so that was a really sort of good experience to do something like that in a more sort of formal art setting, I suppose, with white walls. Alice's work always really good as well to do stuff with her. And then sort of similar kind of collaboration, so this is all in here, so really good space up here to be able to, you can just kind of say to Dave, you know, I remember saying I quite like the idea of doing an art show up here, and he's really into the idea, and you just, what we've basically done, booked it, we got Paddy to DJ, put some work on the walls, and then kind of had a bit of a party with art. And it's every time we've done it, it's always been really well attended and really good fun. And the thing I like about it as well is it's not so that the same people come. There's loads of people who come out I don't necessarily know, I've never met before or something. Might have heard about it and just thought it'd be quite interesting to turn up. And you know, it quite often it just turns out really like fun, really, and sell a bit of work. And the thing about actually the other thing about this is, like up here, there's a piece of work there, Fetch the Volume, that's by my friend Andrea. She does this bunting as well, sort of like with I bastard, it was like I bastard love you and I bastard hate you, and you could spin love and hate around. She's got some great ideas. She's very sort of inspired by Tracy Emin, but she's never really exhibited any work before. She's always had the idea that she'd like to make it, and so, you know, it's like that. I love this HU5 thing, which is what we call it, because it's that, quite often it's someone who's not really necessarily gone to art school, it's just somebody who likes making stuff, and you go encourage them to do it. And Andrea ended up getting Fetch the Valium, it's an embroidery thing, in the Ferrens last year in the Open, which she was really kind of pleased about. So I think it's that sort of, yeah, the opportunity for people to make stuff. I did a show in Fruit, and that sort of was quite interesting, because I'd been doing this stuff and putting it on the walls and everything, and then the Guillemots, who were sort of quite a sort of famous-ish band a few years ago, Fife Guillemot saw my work, and he sent me this, they played at a Fruit, and he bought one of my pieces, and then he sent me this really nice email just saying how much he liked it, and he was sort of talking about all this stuff in it. It was really interesting the way he described it, and he had this idea that he was going to do a whole set of album releases over the year. They were going to do 4 releases. It was kind of a comeback thing for them, but they ended up making this one here, but they didn't. I did these pictures as well, but they didn't end up. They kind of, I think the next album got turned into a bit of an epic. One of the band members made another band. It sort of went like that, but that was a really interesting experience, because I went from taking pictures of my friends wearing props and costume, being silly, whatever, and then, you know, him getting in touch, talking to him on the phone and by email, and then just getting a train to London and meeting him and them, and then driving in the car to Notting Hill and taking these pictures in this garden. You know, I'm walking through Notting Hill, which looked just like the most amazing place in the world, with people I'd never met, one dressed as a kind of Roman centurion with horns, and Fife with this sort of long cloak thing on, and just thinking, what happened? Like, how did this happen? How did I get here? It was really weird. And it was all from like a clown picture on a beach, you know, that was on a wall. And then I went down again to London. But I think the thing from that was, it was a really great experience, because like when I was coming home on the train, I was looking at the pictures I'd got, and I was just thinking, I don't think they're very good. I don't think I've really got what I needed. I think they're just going to say, just don't worry, and it was nice meeting you or whatever. But when I got home, I edited one, sent it to him. He was on the way to the airport because he recorded a lot in Norway, and he loved it. It was fine. So, but I think the experience as well of kind of working with someone else and trying to do what they want, sort of trying to work with their vision, and sort of you'll do something, spend ages on it, send it to them, and then they send it back to you, and they kind of go, not like that, like this, or let's go back to the other one, and you get this loads of thing going on all the time, backwards and forwards. And I think also the other thing that was really interesting was the being able to do it at a distance as well, and being able to do something in Hull and not have to, go travel back again. It was just sort of, it was all done here, and being able to do it digitally like that was really sort of kind of, that's the kind of the impact of digital technology, really, isn't it, on an artist's life, I suppose. Other things like working with other people as well. So I started working on 10-foot city covers with Martin Loosely, and that's been really good because it made me use different ways of creating pictures, really. So using Photoshop more and cut and paste, sort of Photoshop, kind of Google images, things like that. And it kind of changed it's given me another thing to go with, so I started doing these sort of reinventing pictures, sort of using found images and then adding layers onto them in Photoshop. And these ones are sort of like, I think these are the stuff that are kind of really commercial in a way. These are the ones that people really like to buy and put on the walls, I think. But I think, again, that thing, if you're working with other people, it can kind of be challenging in some ways, but then it can be really good because it pushes your work in different directions and something that you might not have done if you just stayed doing the same thing. I did some stuff for Ferrens as well. It's like Warhol. It was when Andy Warhol was in the Ferrens, there was an exhibition. So they asked me to do some, it was like a publicity thing, really. And I'd done this at a wedding. It was quite popular now, isn't it? So making these props and stuff, but I'd done it at someone's wedding and they asked me to do some stuff for Warhol, so I ended up making these props and creating these pictures. But again, it was the thing of the actual doing stuff that I've not done before because I was doing it for someone else. I think that was quite good with that one. I did this one recently which was more documentary, and it was going into, there's a club in East Hull, a gymnastic club called Aspire, and there was a thing in the Ferrens, and it was a film about divers, young girl divers, poised by Dryden Goodwin, and they wanted a community response, the Ferrens. And I used to do gymnastics when I was younger, and I think I'd heard there was a gymnastic club. I'd done some research, so I put in a proposal to the Ferrens, and they thought it was a really great idea, but I didn't know whether the gymnastic club would be okay about me doing this. And then I got in touch with the gymnastic club, and it turned out that a girl who was helping to run the club was someone that I actually used to train with. And she used to be a documentary photographer. Well, she is a documentary photographer. She studied in San Diego, but she was really up for it. So I went there over a period of weeks. So it was a really different way of working again. But just amazing that's kind of like East Hull, and it's the most state of the art gymnastic club. It's got everything they could ever want, and it's all voluntarily run. It's all run with support from lottery funding and things like that. It's amazing. And it was really the thing about what is it? Women are heroes. What did you say about it? Heroes. I think that just was mind blowing. The first night when I went, and it was just these young girls who were sort of between the ones that I was sort of following, photographing, were between about 13, and some of them were they'd applied to go to uni, and they were climbing up this really high rope and challenging each other, and it's just really sort of fabulously powerful young girls, and it was really great to see that. So I found it a really great experience doing that. I did something at what is now Cardoma. What is now Cardoma, when it was Ensemble 50. Is it 52? Yeah, Ensemble 52. So it was like that Heads Up Festival. So Andrew Pearce and Dave Windass asked me to do some pictures for that. But that was really great, because like I made a lot of work in a short space of time, so it made me really productive. It was over the summer, and then it was exhibited there. But I think sometimes it's that thing where if you're asked to do something, it's because sometimes with this, I mean, it's like even doing this tonight, it's like it's quite daunting to do something like this. And when you're asked, you kind of think, oh yeah, that'd be really good. And then when you're actually waiting to do it, you're just thinking, why did I say that? Yeah. And I think because I teach and I earn money from teaching, I don't necessarily need to earn any more money from art. Any money that I earn from it is kind of extra. It's quite sort of, I can do whatever I want with it sort of thing. So when I put myself under pressure sometimes to do stuff, I kind of think, what am I doing? But I think it comes onto that. But something like that was like that, because it was like this challenge to create work. But then at the end of it, you know, I've got pieces that I would consider my most favourite work, like that one on the bottom left corner. I kind of really love that piece. And the one on the with the clowns on the bench as well. So I based them around theatre productions. That was my loose thing. So I did like Cat on a Hot Tin Roof and Midsummer Night Dream. And then that was like, I was thinking Waiting for Godot, so the two people waiting for the friend to come. That was me and my friend at Beverly Westwood. But I've got Steve Elliott's masks there as well that are really brilliant. I did these for the Hull University Ball, and it was publicity for that. It was a friend of mine, Emma, who works in the student union offices, and she was like, oh, I know my friend could definitely do something. So I kind of got this work, and this was a bit of a challenge as well, because it was like a really short turnaround. It was like about a week, I think. And so I was dressing up as these characters. So most of these are me, some of these are Mark, not many. I think they're mostly me, though, aren't they? And so I was dressing, like putting this red thing in my living room, dressing up as these characters, photographing myself. And when I first did it, I used this other mask, and the girl who was like running she was the sort of head of the project, she kind of said, oh no, I don't like it's too scary or whatever. And I just thought, oh god, this is going to be annoying, because I don't even know what she's going to like. I'm going to, you know, I wish I hadn't done this. It's going to be really awful, whatever. And she looked through my Flickr site, and she was brilliant. She looked through it and she said, I really like this, this and this, why don't you do that? And it just, from that, it was just like, right, I definitely know what I can do now. So she was really great as far as that. So I think sometimes as well, that thing where you work with somebody and they say, I'm not sure about that. And at first, immediately, you're kind of like, you're sort of a bit, you know, pissed off or whatever. And then when you think about it, you think, actually, they're right. And it was really good. And she was really brilliant, because she'd go, no, the leg's not right, and this isn't right, and that's not right. So I'd do it, I'd change it, and I'd go, yeah, that's definitely better. And again, so it was a really sort of a different process, and I think this is quite an interesting one that I want to go more into. So with this, I made these masks. So I photoshopped faces, and then I printed them, and then I wore them, and then I photographed, and then I manipulated afterwards. So it's kind of like loads of different processes mixed together in some ways. The Cinderella characters, so that again, that was, somebody asked me if I could just do the characters for that. I'm doing the next ones as well, so. And I was really surprised. This has made me think about scale as well, because I did them on the computer, but, you know, big resolution. But then when I saw them, I was on my bike, leaving work, going somewhere, and I thought, I'll just pop around and see what the poster looks like in the window. And then I was just kind of a bit taken aback about how big they'd made them. And I'd forgotten that in Cinderella's eyes, I put like a moon as a catchlight, because I was thinking, you know, like 12 o'clock or whatever. And then when I saw it really big, it reminded me that I'd actually done that. And I never thought that it looked that way, that size. So it's made me think about doing things different sizes as well. I was going to say as well, the idea of like an online presence has been so useful, because a lot of that commission work I haven't actually pursued. Somebody's seen stuff that I've made on Facebook or on Flickr or website or whatever, and just got in touch about doing stuff. So I think that idea, if you're making stuff and you kind of like put it out there, then you get stuff back, you know, things come back. It's really worth doing it. And like Twitter, I think is really amazing. You know, I think this city of culture thing and all the, you know, the power of the whole yes and sharing things, you know, noticing when somebody's doing something and kind of sharing it and all that, you know, I think that's been really good as well. It's just really interesting to see what's going on or something interesting that's happening. I don't know, but I think an online presence has been really useful for me. There was a thing at Artlink again. I think that was from, you know, the same thing, just having stuff out there, and that was Kate from Artlink did this really lovely little exhibition where she curated. Sarah Pennington, your work was in there as well, wasn't it? So she made a little sort of curiosity shop within the gallery, which was really nice. And again, I made sort of new work. And this, again, like, so yeah, new work and kind of moving it on a stage, because with these ones, I'm starting to make more stuff that actually goes in the photograph. So building little sets with this one, the Dr. Caligari, that's Mark and that one. And the puppet and everything, so, and building, sort of making flowers and wings, and so I really enjoy that kind of crafty thing of making stuff and then putting those into the picture, so I'm really interested in doing more of that. I did it was an art fair in Leeds as well, and that was from something that was on Facebook, like Northern Emerging Artist thing, which you could actually just enter yourself, and then there was an exhibition in Leeds. And then the woman from this art fair got in touch with me because she must have seen my work, and then she was like, "It'd be really good if you do this." So I did it, and it wasn't really that brilliant. It was, and some of the people who were there at the end of it were chuntering about how rubbish it was, or whatever. Because there wasn't a great footfall. It was at Temple Newson. It was like hidden away on this sort of alley thing, and it was all a bit sort of. It wasn't as successful as I hoped. I think they hoped it would be. And it was a lot of preparation and organisation for the people who were running it. But at the end of it, there were some people and they were talking about it, and you wouldn't even think they were talking about art. You'd think they were talking about selling like jumpers or something. You know, it was a bit, ooh, but there were some lovely pieces there. So, but what happened was a lot of people looked at the work, and it was a really nice, again, it was like, because I've done a lot of stuff in Hull, and you know, a lot of people are always really encouraging and really lovely and supportive, but to go somewhere else and then get that kind of reaction was really nice as well. Sort of people come around the corner and kind of like really like ooh, and then really looking at it and stuff. So that was good. And there was, you know, different galleries sort of were saying, "Oh, I've got a gallery in Skipton," and there was a woman in Leeds and stuff like that. So that was sort of my plans for the future are potentially to do more of this kind of thing. I've applied for one in Bristol and Brighton, and I don't know if I'd be able to do it. They're quite expensive, but it's just that idea of getting work out of the city, really. Working with bands as well, so that's been sort of quite fun, sort of different, like there's Mammal Hum and Evil Litter and The Dire Sister, and then End of Level Baddie. So I quite like the idea of doing stuff like that. Bit collaborative. This was really different that I did this summer, and this was Jo Ashbridge, who's a dancer, and she does this thing, Danza. I think she's done it. How many years has she done it, Michelle? Do you know?
Sorry?
How many years has she done Danza?
That was
Fourth one. So, and this one was different, wasn't it? Because it was like a collaboration between sort of different artists, and so there was musicians.
digital coders.
What?
Digital coders, improv musicians, straight up musicians, bands, photographers,
Filmmakers.
filmmakers,
Yeah.
live performance artists, as opposed to dancers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a whole range. I think every area, every art form was kind of covered. Really.
And it was
audio artists that make sound.
Yeah, and so Jo kind of paired off people in different sections or different specialisms who she thought would work well together, and there was a certain period of time where we all worked on something, and Jo worked with me, and she was choreographing the dancers, and what she did was we started off thinking about what my inspirations were for the work that I make, and I sent her some links and things, and then she started looking at those, and she looked at sort of cult horror movies. She chose Frankenstein and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. There was Dr. Phibes, and she took little clips, and then she got the dancers to look at the clips, and then she got them to kind of mimic the moves in the horror films, and then they over a period of time they turned this into sort of a full choreographed dance, which was really brilliant, and it was really interesting to see a different art form in production in front of you, because you know how you start off without a picture and turn it into a picture or whatever, but to see a dancer start with nothing and then produce it was really interesting. And then it was performed at Fruit, and then so all the different performers performed it at Fruit, and I sort of we thought about costume and props and all that sort of thing. So there was like Frankenstein with the Frankenstein mask, and the so we tried to create all. I made like the girl up here. She wore like a headband, and it had birds on it, made out of paper, and she sort of did this whole thing where she tip your head and getting attacked by the birds. That was really good.
Alexander McQueen, you ever seen that? Alexander McQueen?
Yeah.
It's one of his
oh, right.
shows.
Oh right, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, with the sort of pretty
right.
mad, yeah. Well, not birds perched off his shoulders.
Yeah, I love Hitchcock. And Alexander McQueen. So this was really brilliant as well. So this was downstairs, what is now that bar. So for a while it was Alive with Art at the gallery. Martin Lucy was running it with Dave, and it was basically just a gallery for a few months. I think it was about 3 months, and people sort of came along and just were like, they had a bit of art, so that got put up and it went like that, and then it got sold in there, and I think it went quite well. It was summer as well. It was sort of, I was thinking about this when I was putting this together today. I think this will be a really special sort of memory for me, because it was really a really sort of lovely time. And again, it was sort of the idea that you can actually sell stuff as well, because I mean a lot of the work was selling, and it, you make it a lot of the time, you might exhibit it, you might sell one piece or something, but people were kind of coming back for more work and like ordering it, wanting different sizes, all this. It was really lovely at the time, so it made me think that potentially I could sell more work than I do. So now I'm just gonna so that's sort of what I've been doing, and then I'm just thinking about like because it's that I was talking with Sarah about this, so we were talking about what inspires you to keep making it, sort of thing, if you want to keep making work. And sometimes so I'm just thinking about that idea. So Mal Williamson, who runs this, he's got this Neuro Creator magazine, he's looking at the sort of how people function as creative people, what inspires them, and how do they work, how do they end up doing stuff, I think, in a way. So he sort of asked me all these questions, and it was quite interesting because they were coming from different perspectives than I would have thought they were coming from. It wasn't like a newspaper journalist interviewing you in a way, it was a different kind of thing. But I talked to him about this because like this Women as Heroes thing as well, like it was Women's Day not last year but the year before, International Women's Day, and I just thought, I got a load of sort of heroic women together, and then I thought I'm going to look at my pictures and see which pictures I'd choose, and I was quite surprised at, I'd never really thought about it, but a lot, obviously, because I'm using friends, they're female, so now I re-look at the pictures and then realise that I'm creating these sort of, I don't know, unusual, whatever, female characters.
Is that top right hand one? Is that a strange kind of remix of The Shining?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember seeing that thinking, wow. It is a remix. I always say remixes.
Yeah, it is a remix of The Shining, definitely. I mean, there's loads of remixes there. So there's the birds there. So that one was really bad winter, like about 3-4 years ago, where it was really, we had a week off work or whatever, and I went to the park and there was, maybe 4 days. It was quite a long time. I remember how great it was, But there was, we went to the park and there was a man feeding the ducks and he was properly getting attacked because they were so starving because it was all iced over. So I thought, oh, I bet I could get somebody to dress as Tippi Hedren and go to the park with some bread. And then I was thinking about my friend Natalie and Claire. They both had like these leopard skin coats, and then they were like, oh, we've got blonde wigs or whatever, and sunglasses. And my other friend Julie was just chucking bread while they were getting like attacked by it. And Natalie here was actually quite terrified like that. So it was like real fear. But I mean, yeah. So there's all these. I mean, like there's sort of what they look like, but there's other aspects to it. I don't know if this is the I won't get to that one yet. But I think the other aspects to it is sort of the idea of, you know, this one, you know, me and three friends going to Railway Woods with these costumes and taking this picture and then stopping for cake on the way back. You know, it's like a real nice little sort of thing out. So I think this idea of why I do it and keeping doing it and what inspires me, a lot of it is friends and family and sort of the good feeling that you get after you've made something like this. And it's not something that just exists for me, but also, you know, in some ways for other people. You know, Anne-Marie, who's in a lot of them, spoke about how great it makes her feel. You know, she's in her house, she's got them all around her and Carl, her boyfriend. You know, they've got all these great, well, I say great, but they've got all these like mad moments where they're all, you know, sort of, this is Anne-Marie here and here. And quite often it's a collaboration between me, well, it's always a collaboration between me and them, and quite often it's a conversation in the pub and it's like, or a new dress that what somebody's got, or, you know, it's like, ooh, you know, I mean, this here, this clown at the seaside, I had this idea that I wanted to do a clown. At first it was jumping on a snow man or something, but I don't think we got any snow that year, so it translated to the seaside, jumping on a sandcastle. And I think somebody bought me that umbrella for Christmas, and then Michelle Davey, you bought me some socks and they were rainbow, and I was like, that's perfect. So sort of these just little things come together, but it's just, I'd never get over the sort of the spirit of the people that I know, that I can say to them, what if we did this? And they're just like, when?
Yeah, but do you think, so I keep piping up because it's like,
no,
I just think it's about being playful.
Yeah.
Because play is really important, it's something that's knocked out of us.
Yeah. It's the silliness of it, isn't it? It's just silly, it's just, there's no sense in it at all. You know, people, I think the first time I met somebody, she was like, I saw you in the woods and they were all dressed up and we were walking out with a dog, you know. I think as well, like being inspired by just all the time by anything that I see, and I kind of collect it and I make these little books of them. So just like a bit a cultural thief really, just anything that I see, and I kind of, you know, there's films and silly photos, but just, you know, I feel like, and I forget that I've seen something, and then I make a photograph and I look back at something and I think, God, you know, that was that, but it's kind of been mixed up in a mixing bowl and come out a different way or something. But I just like anything that's got, somebody asked me to sort of describe my work. There was a student doing the GCSE exam and they're looking at the animal heads thing, and he sent me these questions from this girl, and I was saying, what did he say? He said something like, I can't remember what it was, but how would I describe my work? And I was saying that I really like, I like that idea of something, I'm not that into stuff that's really horrible, but I like the idea of something that just makes you feel a little bit uneasy, takes you to that funny little place. And I was saying about, you know, when you first left at home on your own on a night, you know, your parents, maybe when, you know, your parents have gone to the pub and you're on your own, or you're in your bedroom and the lights go off, and then you're just like, ooh. Or I put something like, you've got a two-headed doll living under your bed, or you open the door and you've got a clown stood there, or you've got a pixie in your wardrobe with horse feet. You know, just that sort of weirdness. I don't know what it is, why I like it so much, but I do.
Do you know of Joanna Newsom, plays harpist?
No.
It's like, there's Joanna Newsom and there's also Coca Rosie, like sisters music, and they're all out of the woods, you know. Everything you're describing to me, I'm like thinking of fairies and
Yeah.
in the woods.
Yeah, but so there's someone I teach with, Sarah, she does this really good thing on looking at landscape and attitudes to landscape sort of, and she looks at classical and romantic and the idea of how things change, you know, like in horror films how you get sort of the like Blair Witch, so it starts off on that fun adventure but then it turns into that kind of dark, so that, you know, it's that thing where it's just about to turn or something, I don't know. But I used to be afraid of everything when I was little, you know, dying, whatever, everything, all the time, fear. And you know, I couldn't watch horror films, whatever, but since I've been making sort of scary stuff, I can watch them, because I know I kind of have stepped back and seen it as a craft rather than I'm not being seduced by it in a way. So I don't know if I've kind of cured myself or something from the fear. But other inspirations, so things like, I mean, foundation course has been really great to teach on, because that's sort of, it's sort of pre-degree level, so the students are they're kind of, you know, better, cleverer, more enthusiastic. You know, they're lovely students to teach. So their work is really inspirational. You know, this and this is all these students, pre-degree level students, and you look at the work on the final show, you know, it's Queen's Gardens, and you can't believe it's not degree level work really, or work that would be seen in galleries. Really, you know, inspirational. Also, like, we go on a trip to London and you get, it's a really great chance to sort of gorge on art for like 3 days. You see so much art, it kind of seeps into your system a bit. It's really brilliant. Things like Sculpture Park as well, but you know, just any sort of other influences of things that are going on around, I suppose. These are some of the sort of underneath the mask things. So just sort of, you know, that thing of kind of like the fun behind it, I think, really. Because I mean, here, this one, me and Julie, we'd been on a bike ride to Beverley and we saw this really great cornfield, and I went back to take the photograph there, so we took a dog, but then it didn't turn out as good, that picture, so we went and walked the dog on the Westwood and we found this dead tree, which is so Godder, isn't it, the dead tree, so we redid it, but yeah, it's the underneath, because like Mark's always like, when is it ending, or whatever, but he's got a real good monkey pose, it's always the monkey, real good at the monkey, like nobody could be the monkey, could they? So other inspiration, I think I just think it's so brilliant what's happening to Hull at the minute. You know, the idea of, you know, the city culture, whatever comes with it, it's miles better than not having it, isn't it? And all, you know, the festivals that we have, you know, like Freedom Festival, Humber Street Sesh, you know, just walking into Pave one night, that top left corner, and there's all these women. Some of them are who I know, and they're all dressed as brides, like crazy brides, because one of them was getting divorced. It was like a divorce party. You know, Halloween, I just love Halloween, the silliness. I mean, that's when Barney, you first came here, so the idea of people dressing up, just ridiculous costumes.
That really got me, you know.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen that for, I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
it used to be kids, didn't it? But now it's like the adults are like so into
really
it.
Taken aback by it.
Yeah. I mean, I love that, just the silliness of it. There's no sense in it at all. You know, working at the Adelphi with Polly, you know, doing the 30s celebrations was just like the most amazing week, you know, to photograph there when there was like Kaiser Chiefs, Paul Heaton, all that kind of thing, you know. So the sort of the experience is wider. Like Newland Vets is brilliant. That's like a local football team, and you know, they've got a real sort of sense of community and fun within that as well. My friend, you know, other people's artwork, like my friend Anne-Marie at the bottom, and this was like Mammal Hum shoot. So the shoot for Mammal Hum was kind of like the band not dressed, and then all these people wearing different outfits and masks, and it was a shout out on Facebook to people just to say, you know, we're going to shoot this at Beverley Westwood. It was on Midsummer's Day. And it was a really nice sunny day, like just bring something really colourful in the mask. And like people had made stuff, and like a few people had cycled there, and they brought the kids and they had picnics, There's about like 30 of us, something like that. But it was just such a beautiful experience. A lovely sunny day, you know, got great pictures. Kids really enjoyed it. Mark made a film of it, didn't you? So it was sort of a film of what had happened. But I think, you know, it's just that idea that there's this really... Talking to students as well this week about... a girl did a thing about criminology. Like Mark's been asking this question with his students. And this idea that we sort of live in a world of fear, don't we, a lot of the time. And he's been asking students this week, so how many people do you think in this country are in prison? Does anybody know the number?
80,000.
How many?
80,000.
Yeah.
80.
80,000. Well, you say it was 70. 70 and 80,000. But asking students, Mark's been asking it all this week, and I was asking people, so even someone I work with, and the number that you have in your head is so much higher. It's like, you know, how much of a percent of people do you think are in prison? And then when you actually know the number, it's like 0.000% of the population. And, you know, the idea of, you know, the media, I mean, the whole Daily Mail does have good stories in it, but there's a lot of really negative stuff, isn't there? And it's like, when you think of how much positive stuff goes on around us, and the media seems to choose to focus on the negative. So I suppose it's, you know, I'm kind of quite conscious of that. And when I look back, something like this has been really good, because I've just been looking for photographs to represent whichever bit of it I want to represent. And I think it's just made me see like the colour and the joy that's around, really. And that's the last slide. So that's what I've kind of done it was 2008 when I sort of had that realisation of I want to do something different. And I've had sort of stuff in galleries and things like that, but I'm just thinking of, I've had a kind of a meeting with Claire from Roots and Wings and sort of discussed the possibility of applying for funding with the Arts Council. I've never sort of applied for any funding. I've earned money, but I've never applied for anything. So the idea of maybe applying for some research and development, because, you know, although I really love teaching and I don't want to stop teaching, it might be quite nice to not teach quite as much, to have, because I've got loads of ideas but not always the time to be able to do them. So it'd be great to get a bit of funding, so it might enable me to just have a bit more time. I also want to look at galleries outside Hull, possibly art fairs. Pop-up galleries, I'd really like to sort of have a go at that. You know, experience again was really good. Keeping with commissioned work and sort of like new work as well. So I'm really interested in like maybe more three-dimensional set building. I'm really into moving image as well. I've started using After Effects and kind of print as well. So I really like the idea of doing more print. I've done. We do the big lino print at college, don't we? And it's just such a great thing to do, and we've got a great print room there. But I like the idea of like translating some of my work into screen prints as well, really. So I've got sort of ideas for what I want to do. But that's the end of that.